Batra Daf Amud Aleph at the bottom. The last one we mentioned was that the Aron, the Sefer Torah was not in the Aron. And now we're going to ask that earlier we used the Pasuk to teach us that it was in the Aron. So what we're going to do with that Pasuk? Umani mekayem in be'aron rak. Lerabot shivrer luchot. We said earlier that we use that double exclusion to include the Sefer Torah. Now we're using it to include that the broken set of luchot, the first set that was broken, was put inside the Aron HaKodesh, shemunachim ba'aron. Now earlier we mentioned that the circumference of an ideal Sefer Torah is 6 tefachim, very small. Let's calculate. Every 3 tefach circumference means it's a 1 tefach diameter, and therefore it should be 2 tefachim wide because it's 6. Since the Sefer Torah is rolled from 2 poles, obviously it'll be more than 2 tefach in space, just because of the physics. The how would fit into a 2 tefach space in the Aron that we just mentioned, according to the B'Meir, where I said, the Sefer Torah for the Azara that we had was rolled to the beginning on a single pole, not 2 rolls, and that's why it was under 2. The Gemara said that's why it was 2, not more than 2. It was exactly 2, and the space is 2. How do you take it out and put it in? So the majority of the scroll was rolled into a single one, and then they took the last, let's say, few slots of paper of the scroll, and they made it into a smaller roll and put it on top so that it was narrow enough to at least fit inside, and the small piece would be rolled on top. Rabbi according to Rabbi says that the Sefer Torah was on the top of the chest by the Pelishtim. Before they got the chest, where did they put the Sefer Torah? There was a small shelf on the Aron. They put the Sefer Torah on that small shelf. According to Meir, what is he used for that pasuk of this side of the Aron, which Rabbi Yehuda used to teach you that the Sefer Torah was outside. So what does Rabbi Meir do if he was inside? According to Meir, he says that the Sefer Torah needs to be put at the side of the luchot, but not put inside the 2 luchot. That's what the pasuk teaches you. Really was put inside, but on the side of the wall and not inside between the luchot. Rabbi Meir, what does he do with that pasuk? If there's no sefer, if the Sefer Torah is inside, now where do we put the silver rod that we mentioned earlier? So Mibrai, he holds that you put it outside. Rabbi Meir, according to Meir, where does Rabbi Meir put? Learn that we have the broken pieces of the first luchot. Where did he put them? If Rabbi Meir used the same pasuk for something else. See what the pasuk mean? Asher nikra Shem Shem Hashem tzavot yoshev hakeruv malav. Double word of Shem 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 Hashem. Because it said Hashem's name twice, or the word Shem twice, teach you that both sets of luchot were inside the Aron. Now, what does he do that word with the extra Shem over there? What does he do that pasuk? He uses that pasuk to teach you that all the names of Hashem were written down and put in the Aron as well. Very interesting. What does he do? How does he learn that? That all the names are inside? And the word Shem actually does teach you that it was written down names. So broken pieces are put inside. Not forget them from the following. Asher shibarta v'samtam. You broke and you put. That means you put it inside. What does it do that? Obviously, if you already learned that, the pasuk taught me it goes inside. What does this pasuk teach me that he put it inside? Asher shibarta. When Hashem said which you broke, doesn't mean literally that you broke. Asher Amar Moshe, Hashem was giving his approval. Hashem was praising Moshe that he broke it, not necessarily teaching you that he put it inside the Aron. The following is the order of Nevi'im: Yehoshua, Shofatim, Shmuel, Umelachim, Yirmiyah, Hezkel, Yeshaya, and then Shnei Masar. Shnei Masar are 12 small mini books of Nevi'im. Mechtin, let's 1 second. Hosea, Kadim. Hosea came first. So Ve'echi im Hosea diber tchilat, did Hashem actually speak with Hosea first? But Moshe bad Hosea kamalim. But obviously there was many Nevi'im between Moshe and Hosea. So what does it mean Tehila? I mean, what does the beginning mean? But Rabbi Yochanan Shaya Tehila l'Arba'a Nevi'im shenadmu b'Teverik. He was the first of the 4 Nevi'im during that time. Ve'eluhen Hoshea, Vishaya, Amos, Umicha. So the Gemara says, that's the case. Let Hoshea be before Yeshaya. If that's the case, why is he after everybody? Gemara says, since Hoshea's Nevi'ut was written at the same time as Haggai, Zechariah, and Malachi, they were the last ones. Hashib led by they put it at the end. Gemara says, if that's the case, just write the Sefer Hosea as a separate book. Why do you have to stick it at the end with them and put it earlier? Gemara says, I did the Zutar Mirkas, but we're afraid that if since it's such a small book, we would lose it and get lost. Mechti, Yeshaya Kadim Yirmiyah B'Cheskel, Yeshaya did before Yirmiyah and Cheskel. Like maybe Yeshaya B'Reshah, so that indicates why isn't Yeshaya before Yirmiyah and Cheskel? Where it says, given the Melachim Sofer Harbana, since the end of the Sefer Melachim is about this destruction, Yirmiyah Kulei Harbana, the entire Sefer Yirmiyah is about destruction, and then the opposite end, the Cheskel Reshed Harbana V'Sefer Nehemta. Cheskel's the beginning. It starts off with destruction and ends about Nehemah, the consolation of Bnei Israel. Yeshayahu, the Nehemta, the entire book of Yeshaya is completely about consolation. That's why they're all like that. Samachina and the Hudbana, the Nehemta, we put the prophecies of destruction next to the destruction and the consolation next to consolation. Okay. The order of the Keduim is Ruth, Sefer Tzibesidim, V'Yov, Mishle, V'Kohelet, Shir HaShirim, V'Kinot, Daniel, Umikilat, Esther, Ezra, V'Divrei Yamim. Uman Damar Eob Moshe Had. There's Machoket when Eob lived. Whether it was times of Moshe, during the Nevi'im, if he ever existed, as we'll see. So that's if the opinion holds that Eob lived during Moshe's time. Why isn't Eob the first part of Ketubim? Why is Eob in the middle? We don't want to start talking about punishment. So much punishment happened in the book of Eob, we don't want to put it there. Gemara says Ruth, but Ruth also had punishment. Very bad things happened. So why we have that in the beginning? The Gemara says, the book of Ruth had punishment with a good end. Yani that came from it. Her. Why was she called Ruth? She's called Ruth because David came from her, and with his Ruth, with his Shirot, he praised Hashem, and that's why we don't mind having Ruth in the beginning. Who wrote which books? Moshe Katav Sifro Pashat Bilam Biyog. Moshe wrote the Chumash, the part of Bilam. You might think he didn't write it because it's not really a Chumash, it's someone else's Nevi'ut. Chumash Bilam, he did write it. And the book of Eob. Yoshua Katav Sifro, Yeshua wrote his book of Yoshua, and the last 8 Pesukim of the Chumash, which happened after Moshe Rabbeinu. Shmuel Katav Sifro Shmuel wrote his book of Shemuel and the book of Shoftim and Ruth. David Katav Sefer Tehillim. David wrote the Sefer Tehillim with 10 other people. We'll see who they are. Adam Rishon helped him write Kuf Lamed Tet. He's put some Pesukim in there. Melchizedek added some stuff in Kuf Yod. Abraham Avinu helped with Perek Petet. Moshe helped with Pirakim Tzadik through Kuf. Yedei Heman, who helped with 88 Pehet. Vaidei Yedutun, who helped with Lamed Tet. Vaidei Asaf, and Asaf also helped with Ayin Rimal through Pei Rimal. Vaidei Shlosha Bnei Korach, also the 3 sons of Korach, helped with Mem Bet through Mem Tet. Yirmiyah Katav Sifro V'Sefer Melachim Kinot. Yirmiyah wrote his book, the book of Melachim, and the book of Kinot. Hizkiah v'siyato katvu. Hizkiah and his helpers wrote Yeshaya, Mishle, Shir HaShirim, and Kohelet. And Sheikh Nantagdla Katu, they wrote Yehezkel, Ushneim Asar, Daniel, Megillat Esther. Ezra Katav Sifro v'Yahaz Shel V'Yamim Adlo. Ezra wrote his book and the list of generations of Yohasin of the lineage from him all the way from there all the way to from the book of Divrei Yamim until his own, until he passed away. And that's approved according to Rav. Ezra did not leave Babel to Eretz Israel until he traced his ancestors. Then he went up. Uman Aske, who finished the book of Divrei Yamim, that's what, if it only went up to him. Nehemiah ben Hachaliah. Amar Mor. Yeshua wrote his book and the last 8 Pesukim in the Torah after Moshe died. This goes according to the opinion of Shimon Pesukim in Yeshua, because when the last 8 Pesukim in the Torah Yeshua wrote, says, Vayamot Sham Moshe Ebed Hashem. The last 8 Pesukim happened after the Pasuk that Moshe passed away. If Shara Moshe Bechatav Yamot Shem Moshe, is it possible that Moshe died and then he wrote Moshe died? Impossible. Ela Ka Ad Kan Moshe, but it must be until that point Moshe wrote. Bekan Meidach Chatav Yeshua, then Yeshua wrote the rest. The Rebbe Davi Mari Labri Yechnia. My Lord Rabbi Shimon says, hold on a second. If Shara Sefer Torah Haser Otahat, can it be possible the Torah of Moshe Rabbeinu is missing a letter? Can it be that he didn't write it? Okay, but the Pasuk says, "Look, la koach et sefer haTorah hazeh." This sefer Torah was completed by Moshe. Ela al kad Moshe Bakadosh Baruch Hu Omer. Rather, until then, Moshe Hashem would dictate what to be writing. Moshe Omer v'chotev. Then Moshe would say it and then write it down. Mikan ve'ilach. But those last eight Pasukim, Hakadosh Baruch Hu Omer, Moshe kotev b'dema. At that point, Hashem would dictate it. Moshe didn't say it, and he just wrote it with his tears instead of ink. כמו שנאמר לאדם, as we see later on, ויאמר להם, ברוך מפיו יקרא אליי את כל דברים האלה, ואני כותב על ספר בדיו. We see over there by Yirmiyahu's scribe, he also would write down what was dictated and repeat it. כמאן נזלה אדם הרב ישוב גדל מרב, who holds the following? שמונה פסוקים בשבתו יחיד קורא אותם. The last 8 פסוקים, a person can read by a single person, a single person can read it, and you don't need it's not official reading. Lema, it's against Rabbi Shimon because he holds that Moshe wrote in it. But obviously, if it's not considered regular Sefer Torah, maybe it's not like him who holds, and therefore we hold that it's not considered regular written Torah. The fact that a single person can read it. I feel Rabbi Shimon would say no, not a proof. Even Rabbi Shimon would agree over here. The last 8 Pesukim, even though they're written by Moshe, it's different. Or because it was written differently because he used his tears, and therefore it has separate rules. Yoshua wrote his book. But in the middle of the book, towards the end of the book, he died. So who wrote that? The Aske Elazar finished it. Then it says that Elazar died. The Aske Pinchas finished it. Shmuel wrote his book. What happened after he died? The Aske Gad HaHozeh Ben Tanan Nabi. These 2 people finished it. David wrote with the following people. How come Etan Ezrachi is not written it? We know that Petet wrote it. Marav, Etan Ezrachi is Abraham. Etan Ezrachi is Abraham Avinu. Etan Ezrachi is Abraham Avinu, and we did mention him. Etan Ezrachi mentioned over there that his name was Etan Ezrachi. Referring to Abraham Avinu mentioned also Ezrach. Both Eastern words obviously referring to Abraham Avinu. Kahashiv Moshe v'Kahashiv Heman. It mentions Moshe and it mentions Heman. V'Hamarav, Heman, and Moshe. But we know that Moshe had another name for Heman, known as Heman. So we see that it's the same person. Why we have 2 people? Answer is today Heman have 2 people named Heman, Moshe and the following person who wrote Pehet. Moshe wrote his the Chumash, the part of Bilam and Eov. There's a proof according to this rabbi who held that Eov lived during the times of Moshe. That's why Moshe wrote it. They would use the word efo by Moshe by Eov. Sorry, and the Chumash wrote by Moshe also the word efo. That's how we trying to prove that Moshe wrote it. The word says, hold on a second. The Imam Yitzhak also Yitzhak says that word. Who has Adzaid? Even Yaakov said that word. It might be Yosef. Also, Yosef wrote it. It wrote by Yosef. So why is that a proof that it was during Moshe's time? Where it says, "Los hatatak." That word of inscribing. Moshe hudei kriya mechokek, and Moshe is known as mechokek. Deveyerad meshid loki shem helkat mechokek safon. That's why it's a proof. Moshe wrote Eov. Rav Amar Rav said Eov lived during times in Raglim. Eov Shemo. During the time of Uts, in the land of Uts, his name was Eov. And Moshe told the spies to check if there are etz. So etz and Uts sound similar. The Gemara says midamim. What kind of comparison is that? Uts, etz. One's Uts, one's etz. No, the following is maybe that's what he was referring to. There might be a man, Eob, who lives in the non-Jews Israel. Go scope it out. He lives as long as an old tree. And he protects his people like a tree. Go check if Eob's still alive. Eob never lived, he was never created. He was always just a mashal to teach you a lesson. He says, the Sefer Eov mentions that he lived in a certain place. So he did exist. The word haya says he was, means he existed. And that must be that 1 second. Haya means literally. We see over there in the Natan Navi came to rebuke David HaMelech, and he gave him a mashal. In the mashal, he mentioned also Hayat. There was this sheep, but obviously that sheep didn't exist. So the word Hayat in a mashal is not a proof that it existed. Mi hava, did that sheep exist? Ella mashal ba'alma hachanami mashal alma. So too, just like over there was a mashal, so too over here, Eyob could also have been a mashal. Rabbi Nishmal says that no, imken shemo v'shem irolama. If it was really a mashal, you don't have to make up a place. The name Eyob and also the name of a town. You don't have to mention what town he lived in, and therefore Rabbi Shmuel holds that Eyob was not the mashal, but rather a real person. Amen. Amen.